Hello, 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 and welcome back to Surviving and Thriving in a Pandemic. I am your host, Pastor Cherise Cross, and I am so glad you are here with us right now. Listen, do me a favor. Go ahead and press that share button for me. Make sure that you're sharing this with everybody so people can know what's happening, what's going on in our community. We have an important topic today. We are talking about managing chronic diseases to help prevent kidney failure and dialysis. Did you know that African Americans are 3% higher than our Caucasian counterparts at risk for developing kidney failure? And that 35% of African Americans are receiving dialysis for kidney failure, while we only represent 13.2% of the US population. That means that that's a health disparity for us. But there are some ways that we can prevent this. And so we have a special guest today here. His name is Ivan Claudio Gonzalez. He is a doctor and he is passionate about this subject. Listen, he completed his Bachelor of Science at the University of Puerto Rico and attended UNIB School of Medicine in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. He completed his internal medicine residency at Damas Hospital in Ponce, Puerto Rico, and finished his nephrology fellowship at Emory Hospital here in Atlanta, Georgia. During his fellowship, Dr. Rubio rotated around diversified hospitals that prepare him to handle complex clinical scenarios. He is proudly practicing here in Atlanta, specializing in kidney disease and hypertension. His interests also include diabetic renal disease, glomerular diseases, and health disparities. So he's in the right place today. He is also passionate about therapies for prevention and delaying the progression of kidney disease. We're so excited to have you here today, Dr. Gonzalez. Please welcome Dr. Claudio Gonzalez to our show today. Thank you, sir, for being on here today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Pastor. I'm really glad that I can have share this time with your audience and you.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. Listen, we are so excited that you're here, but those numbers that I read are quite shocking. If we're
It really is. It
35%
is.
more likely to suffer from kidney failure, but yet we're only 13% of the population that's represented, how does that happen?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that there's in the United States there's obviously health disparities and there have been health disparities, but we as doctors are trying to close the gap this generation, and I think past generation we are being very active on trying to close the gap and trying to provide care equally to all classes and every levels of society, so we can try to close the gap. But I think that this has happened because of poor caring to our population. Like we don't take care of ourselves until it's too late, until the diseases are start to present symptoms, and that's what a lot of people like in my culture and I in your culture as well. Like we are not that proactive and into the care of our bodies, and we are start seeing the doctors very late at a very late phase of our age, and not as preventive as other cultures are educated to do it. So
Okay, so yes, we're not as keen as getting that preventive health or even working prevention, but we come in at the later end when it's really too late, when the damage is already done. So we're going to get into that.
correct.
I know later you're going to want to talk about when we need to start really paying attention, and we need to start early. This is not an old people disease, it's everybody, right?
Unfortunately, it is. It is. It is. And the early that you can attack it, the better prognosis that you can have.
Okay, so let me back up. How does chronic health and kidney disease correlate? What's the correlation between chronic diseases and kidney diseases?
Well, kidney disease itself is it is a chronic disease, and the reason that you can develop the chronic kidney disease, you can develop chronic kidney disease from autoimmune disease. But the most common that we have here in the United States is hypertension and diabetes. And these two diseases, unfortunately, are silent. So you don't when you start developing high blood pressure, if you don't catch it, it will not present with any symptoms. And the same goes with diabetes. We are taught in school that, well, patients get thirsty, people start to urinate a lot, But as a patient, you think that's normal, that's your regular day, and you don't understand that those are certain changes that are happening to your body. And these changes, the kidney, they do what they are supposed to do. They adapt to it. But unfortunately, in this adaptation is where this damage start to occur.
Wow. So, at what age should we start being mindful of these particular items, these particular symptoms? So, if it was, say, if it was diabetes, or if we start to have that thirst, or what age? I guess what age do we need to start being mindful
So
of these symptoms?
So I think that as soon as you turn like 21 years old, 18 years old,
Mm,
as soon as you can, you should. There is like the general recommendation. Every adult should see the doctor at least once a year to do a complete physical exam and have basic workup. And in the basic workup, you can start to identify certain things, like for example, high blood pressure. When you start seeing your doctor, you start
mm,
to identify, and then you can attack it. For diabetes, is a little bit more complicated because the study that we use to screen for protein excretion, and that's a marker for kidney disease. Unfortunately, when we start seeing positive results in that study, it might be already too late. So for diabetes, we doctors and kidney doctors, we start getting more into the family history and what did your parents how did how was their life and how their have what diseases they tend to develop, and that way we in a way we start to screen people. Okay, but
mm.
that is for diabetes it's just a little bit more complicated. But for hypertension, I think that is easy to catch on because Kroger, CVS, you can have certain blood pressure cuff, and you can get your blood pressure cuff reading in those type of locations. But for diabetes, it just takes you just have to go to a history. And I think that if you have a strong family prevalence of diabetes, like your mom is diabetic, your father is diabetic, your grandparents are diabetic, you should tell your doctor about your strong family history so he can then try to do some specific testing to try to catch that disease.
Okay. And what test are we looking for when we're talk? So, say I have all these people in my family who do have diabetes. What test or what markers should I be asking my doctor about to check?
So, doctor, we check for blood sugars. That's a good marker for diabetes, and we check blood sugar in fasting state. So, whenever the blood sugar in a fasting state, I don't recall the exact number, but I think it's more than 120, and you have that repeatedly for 2 times. That's one of the criteria. The other blood work that if a physician has high suspicion, there's a test that is called the A1C, the famous A1C, and what
Mhm.
what the famous A1C is the percent of hemoglobin, that's the red blood cell, that is coated with sugar, to put it in simple terms. So if you have a A1C more than six or more than six, it means that your blood sugar in your body has been elevated for X time or for more than 3 months, and that has affected the red blood cell that has been in the body at least for 120 days. So that's a good marker. And the other thing that we can do, there's some for pregnant patients that they have high blood sugar. There's some other tests, but essentially those are the two most important ones.
Okay, so I hear you saying that we need to first, at 18, wow, 18, start to know our baseline for our blood pressure. Is that right? We should
I
know our
think so.
baseline for our blood pressure.
I think so, and I encourage all these young adults, all these young people, and everybody that they don't know their blood pressure to at least get a reading, see where you're at, because it's very sad when you have a 30-year-old person going to the hospital with a high blood pressure in the 200, and then when you see the kidney function is already very decreased and they're very close to dialysis, and that's what we try to avoid.
Yes, because I don't think young people are thinking about their kidneys, not thinking about
Yeah.
their kidneys not working or functioning, or what can happen 10 years, 20 years down the line.
Correct, correct. Especially in this society, we don't, and I don't think that it's all young people, but I can be one of them that I did not
Yes,
start taking care of myself until I was well educated to a bachelor,
yes,
and then because most of the diseases as an adult, you start getting them, you start recognizing them when you start to get like health insurance, life insurance, for example, and
yes.
that's where the big surprises start to come up.
Absolutely. I totally agree that no, I wasn't too focused, but I was kind of focused. But now I'm really focused on my health. So yes, I love that you're like, yeah, we want to make sure that they understand. We know there's life circumstances, but still start to take inventory of what's happening in your health.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jermaine Dolly, Mr. Hello Dolly himself, and guess what? You're tuned in to Tea and Worship with my homies, Mignon and Corey. Keep it locked, y'all.
Hey y'all, it's Candy West, and you're watching Tea and Worship with Mignon and Corey.
It's your boy James Fortune, and you are watching my favorite news show, Tea and Worship, with my sis Mignon and Corey.
Meet the scan, a simple procedure whose mission is to detect lung cancer early.
I'm here to save you!
But I feel fine.
That's great, but you may still be at high risk for lung cancer.
Oh man, that's a new fence.
If you smoke, early detection could save your life. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
And so, even with the diabetes, I like how you said to check that A1C level and blood sugar levels, which are two different tests that we should ask our doctors about, just to make sure, especially if we have a high risk of family members who had diabetes.
Correct. Correct. And the fasting blood sugar that's detected in what we call the basic metabolic profile. We at that we check at the blood sugar. We check the kidney function. We check the electrolytes, sodium, the potassium. We check the bicarbonate. But in that test, and it's a very simple test, and most of the people get it. Initially, they get a complete blood count, and a basic metabolic profile. And in the basic metabolic profile, you can see if you start to see that glucose in a fasting state more than 120, and that can prompt you up that hey, I need to tell this patient to monitor his blood sugar and recheck it in the future because it is mildly elevated.
Okay, so we're going to talk about three things right now. I want to talk about prevention, and then if I have issues with my kidneys, and then we'll talk about dialysis. So, prevention, what are some preventive ways that I can start to take care of my kidneys now, or if I'm in my 20s? What do I need to do right now to start looking at that?
So healthy habits. I think that you have heard all the doctors telling you, well, you have to eat well. But what does it mean, eat well? Well,
Yes.
eat well, it means eat more fruits and vegetables, less
Mm.
meat. I think that meat is essential, but I think that we humans, and especially in the American diet, we consume a lot of meat. We should decrease
Yes.
that. I think that doing exercise. And a lot of people say, oh well, my work, I do a lot of walking, but yeah, but do you sweat in your work? No. So I think that you should do at least 30 minutes a day that you have a sweat going through your face, and some practical effort. And that's just doing healthy habits. Don't smoking. We should not be smoking, because smoking is bad for the arteries. It's a pro-inflammatory thing that when you smoke, it activates inflammatory markers. and
Mhm.
and that, I think that will be the most adequate thing. There's this thing that I think that a lot of people say during my encounters stuff. Oh, doctor, I drink a lot of water. Water is good. Water is good, but everything in moderation. You don't have to drink a gallon a day unless you are outside working under the sun, right? But everything in moderation. Water is good for people that make stones, but not everybody has to drink a gallon a day to make their kidneys happy.
That's good to know. That's good
All
to know
right.
because I know some gallon drinkers. They believe in that gallon drinking of water. So thank you for that. You freed some of us. So I like that you said more fruits and vegetables, and that our diet is heavy in meat, heavy in protein, right? How much then? How much protein do we actually need for a day, if you could?
Well, I don't recall the exact portion for healthy adults, but I think that is 1 point times your weight, and then you divide that in grams. I can get back to your audience regarding that exact amount of protein that we should do, but the studies have been shown that for example, people that undergo transplant, people that have chronic kidney disease, and for those type of patients that they have already chronic kidney disease, the goal is to have at least 1 gram per sorry is 1 gram per kilo, or zero point 0.8, more or less. So I don't know how much that in ounces. If I had my calculation, I know your kilogram. We can do the math and do it. But essentially, try to eat just at least one portion of meat a day. Don't eat the sausage in the morning with the bacon. Then in the afternoon for lunch, you have the chicken or you have the pork, and then in the evening you have another piece of meat. I think that we should eat, like, in the morning, eat your oatmeal, your fruits, your vegetables. Then for lunch, you can have a healthy portion with some baked chicken, some baked whatever type of meat you like. And then in the evening, you can have a more vegetable style, more fish. And I think
Okay.
that would be a good diet to follow in a sense. And
Oh,
that's what
that's
I try to
good.
do on myself.
Okay.
I try to eat fruits and vegetables in the morning, and oatmeal, and then I just try to eat one portion of meat a day.
I like that. It really seems like it's light too. It feels like it's a light for your body, and your body has time to process, right? Because in the evening, we don't need all that heavy food because we're getting ready for sleep.
Correct. Correct,
Yeah.
correct. And and if you have other conditions like reflux, you should follow certain diet as well. But yeah, eating light and eating and not and it's just not eating light. Eating good is essential for your body to function well. There's a saying, I don't know who said it, but we are what that say we are what we eat.
We are what we
So
eat. Yes. Yes. So I love to start off with what we can have because I want to know what I can have. I want to know because I like to eat. But so you told me I can have baked chicken, lean meats, a lot of fruits and vegetables, which I can have a variety of those things and switch it up. I even like the oatmeal. Having oatmeal, something that's fibrous in the morning, sounds like, and then moving through the day with the proteins and the fruits and vegetables and little fish in the evening or something, some seafood. So what is it that I cannot have? What are some things that we need to cut back on as a culture that's causing these kidney diseases? What are some things we need to cut back on or cut off?
I think that over in the general consensus is just to try to avoid salt. I think that we like our food to be tasty and seasoned well. But unfortunately, we make the mistake of adding too much salt to our meals, and I think
Mm.
that cutting back on the salt, I think that we should not add salt. I think that's a general advice that I give, and it's very simple. Just whatever you're cooking, don't add salt. Whatever you season you try to have, just try to look that it's free of salt. And then the other thing that I tell my patients to avoid is the fried foods. So fried food is very delicious. It's awesome, but I think that you can, and as a general advice for a healthy patient, say, well, you can have a fried food once in a while, once a week, but not every day. Not
Okay.
every day is a good time to have fried chicken or fried.
Yes.
Personally, I like fried chicken. I would love to eat fried chicken every day, but the problem is that it's bad for your cholesterol, it's bad for your triglycerides, and at the end, that salt, that seasoning has a lot of salt.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have noticed, Pastor. So whenever you eat anything that is fried, you end up pretty thirsty at the end, and you need to drink more. So that should
Yes.
signal you that that food that you're eating it is a high concentration of salt.
Yes. Yes, that's so good, and it's true. Yes, after I eat something fried, I want to drink a whole bunch of water. And so, what you did though, you gave me hope. You gave some of us hope out here. At least once a week. Let's cut down to once a week. So we have what I work with another community. We call it a celebration meal. So our celebration meal, we can probably have that fried item or that thing that we don't have all week long. So we could just have that one time. It's a gift. It's not something that we do every day. So y'all hear that out there? We can have our fried food, but once. We don't need it every day. Not every day. And we got to reduce our salt. And he said, be creative with our flavorings. There's so many flavors. And I know already, you from Dominican Republic? I already know. I'm
I'm
ready to
from
go.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. I'm
Puerto
sorry, you're
Rico.
from Puerto Rico,
Mhm.
and you guys already have great flavors already. So I already know the food is the bomb. It's always good, always flavorful, and seafood. That's all I think about when I think about Puerto Rico is seafood. I think about the fruits and the vegetables and the tomatoes and the plantains and all of those things that we can incorporate and use without using salt for everything. So we just
Mhm.
have to be creative with our foods, and we're a creative culture. So reducing that salt, fried food once a week, once, not every day, not every day. So those are some things that we need to reduce. Some things that we need to reduce. Okay.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jermaine, Dolly, Mr. Hello, Dolly himself, and guess what? You're tuned in to Tea and Worship with my homies, Mignon and Corey. Keep it locked, y'all.
Hey y'all, it's Candy West, and you're watching Tea and Worship with Mignon and Corey.
It's your boy James Fortune, and you are watching my favorite news show, Tea and Worship, with my sis Mignon and Corey.
Freedom. It's at the core of who we are. The freedom to live without fear, to jog where we please, to wear a hoodie. The freedom to breathe. Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
Okay, so now let's say we are dealing with some kidney issues. What should we be doing then? What should we be doing now that we have some markers about our kidneys?
So let's say that there's 5 stages of kidney disease. The first stage, kidney disease, let's it's at like a speedometer, and I don't have a cheat sheet that I use for my patients over here, but it goes to 100 to 0, right? So
Hmm.
stage one kidney disease is, if I'm mistaken, 100 to 90, then 80 to 60, and then that's when you usually doctors start referring to our practice when kidney disease has reached a stage three, and that's when your kidney function is less than 60%. Let's say that you have chronic kidney disease and it's due to hypertension and diabetes. Right now, we're living in a time that there are some medications that have been proven to delay the progression of kidney disease. But the most important thing to delay the progression of kidney disease, if the kidney disease was due to diabetes, if has have good control of your diabetes. Don't let that
Mm.
A1C be in the 12. Try to
Mm.
get that A1C under control. That A1C should be at least 6.5 to 7, depending on your risk factors. If
Okay.
your blood pressure is the one that it was the culprit of your kidney disease, well, lower blood pressure have been shown to improve uh, overall outcomes of kidney disease. So when we doctors tell you, oh well, we want your blood pressure to be at least 140 over 80, we're giving you some room there. Ideally, the studies is 130 or less. But
Okay.
when we say that 140, try to have that blood pressure under control. Try to eat right. That unfortunately, when you have diabetes is a progressive disease. What we can do is try to put a parachute or put some brakes on it and try to delay the progression. Okay, but
Okay.
once you develop once you cross that bridge, you're already in a point of no return. And what you can do is just slow your pace, and so you don't develop chronic dialysis needs
Mm.
or really advanced kidney disease.
Thank you for that because I don't know if we're aware of that how we manage our diabetes. So keeping those numbers low will help slow the progression of the diabetes and even prevent us from becoming a dialysis patient. So or preventing our kidneys from failure. And then our blood pressure, making sure that we keep that as low as we can because that also impacts our kidneys. And so knowing that those two correlate so well and so succinctly is very important because I don't think we really know that those two correlate. And like you said, at a younger age. So if I have high blood pressure in my 20s, that needs to be something that I really need to be checking on to make sure that it doesn't progress because I don't want to be on dialysis when I'm in my 40s. And so, for the person that's on dialysis now, what are some ways that they can help themselves or what better build up themselves so that they can get through that and maybe even get off of dialysis? Is there a way that that can happen?
Unfortunately, it depends. It depends. If you develop an acute kidney injury, meaning that your kidneys suffer an insult, and there's good kidney tissue, good kidney cells, there's some opportunity for recovery. But let's say that you have diabetes for 35 years, poorly controlled, you're already on dialysis. Unfortunately, no. There's no way that once you start that process there's no turning back. We have different
Right.
modalities, and there's different options for our patients, including transplant. And that's something that I really encourage my patients that we don't need to wait until you develop diabetes. When you are in a pretty advanced the chronic kidney disease, you should always be encouraged and always look for your possible donor because it does make a difference. Having a good kidney is better than having a sick kidney and being on dialysis. But
Mm.
let's say that you're on dialysis, what you can do? Well, dialysis patient, that's a very complex issue, but dialysis patients, they are in a high inflammatory state. They get some muscle wasting. So when you're on dialysis, you have to think the other way around. You need to eat a little bit more protein because you need to bulk up a little bit. You lose some protein while you're connected to the machine. We advise our patients, and when I was an Emory, there were some studies currently ongoing about patients on dialysis doing some training and exercise to improve their outcomes. And those studies, they have shown that patients, well, at least for now, they are showing that people, they have less tolerance for exercise. But now, I think that Dr. Park is one of the Emory doctors that is evaluating, try how to turn the wheel around and put those patients in that are in dialysis and make them stronger. So there are some studies going on. So my general advice, people that are going on dialysis, is don't have this mentality that, okay, this is not my new reality. I'm now confined to a chair. Dialysis is a life-saving procedure. Without dialysis, people used to die. So we are dialyzing you, but when you're not getting dialysis, try to eat well, try to do exercise, try to get stronger, and because your outcome, it will depend on that. Your survival will depend on that. Okay, and that's what I try to encourage all my patients. Whenever you see me rounding to my patients, I try to be energetic and try to motivate them. We have, well, in our dialysis unit, we have our social worker, but we also have a nutritionist counseling that is there, well, trying to provide for their needs and trying to improve their nutrition. And that's what I will try to do, get them stronger, and hopefully get them a transplant for them to get out of dialysis. If they're not able to get off dialysis, just try to find the best modality for them and the best quality, and always try to find the best quality of life for them and for our patients.
Well, I thank you for that great information for our patients who are on dialysis, our family members. I can hear your passion when you're speaking about your patients and just how you care about them. Is there anything you want to share before we wrap up? We're going to wrap up in a few minutes, but anything you want to share that we haven't discussed? We discussed a lot, and I hope that you all received a lot of information that's been given today. But is there anything else, Dr. Gonzalez, you want to share?
So if any patient has chronic kidney disease, you can visit kidney.org. That's done by the Kidney Society. And you can find more information about some healthy meals that you can find, what is chronic kidney disease, what is dialysis, what are the stages, and get yourself educated. I think that we need to get educated. There's access in the internet, and but always try to screen your resources. That's a good resource, kidney.org, and get yourself educated. Being educated empowers our patient and empowers our society just to make better decisions in the future.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. I so appreciate you coming on the show today and giving us this much needed information. We want to reduce those disparities when it comes to dialysis and when it comes to us with kidney failure. So you have given us some life-saving tips. I hope that we take advantage of these and that we continue to that you continue to fight for this cause. So I thank you for taking the time out today. Listen, family, we are wrapping up right now, and we're thankful that you tuned in today. Make sure you share this. If you didn't share it before, share it with someone. And again, this is all of us. All of us need to be watching how we take care of ourselves right now, because it's going to impact us 10, 20, 30 years from now. So let's make sure that we're eating right, we're exercising. And Dr. Gonzalez said that when we walk, y'all, we need to be sweating. So let's make sure that we're sweating. If we're going to do 30 minutes, there's got to be some sweat going on there too. So let's make sure we're sweating and that we're doing it consistently so that we take care of this health, because we know that health is what wealth. That's the real wealth, is your health. So take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. He also gave us a great resource, kidney.org. Make sure you go over there, log on, and find out what's going on and what you need to know about your kidneys. Take care of your kidneys. We only got 2 of them. And we need them. We really do. So let's take care of ourselves. Again, thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Everyone have a great day, and we'll see you next time on Hope TV.
had this epiphany based on what your grandmother had done. Saved money for 6 months, paid off debt, slept on the floor. And because of this conversion moment, you literally are sitting on the board of a bank that wouldn't have even given you a loan.
I was a pastor of a church. I was spending so much money dressing like a preacher, driving preacher cars. If I'm spirit-filled, the same Holy Ghost that makes me shout can make me wait until I can afford a BMW and stop giving money, donating money to big banks, paying them 18% interest for the right to use their credit card to buy something I can't afford. It's a mentality.